Alright guys, so grab a cup of coffee and let's dive into this video today because today's going to be a good one. So I've had the chance to shoot with the Blackmagic 6K for 1 year as of a week ago. And guys, I can't stress enough how amazing that camera is and how much of an investment into my career as a content creator it provided. Throughout this video, I'm going to be saying a few different things that may not pertain directly to the Blackmagic 6K and why I switched, but they're more personal aspects because this camera really was a very memorable and personal camera for me. That being said, feel free to use the chapter markers right here below me to skip around to whatever part you came to watch. So like I said, I had the chance to shoot with the Blackmagic 6K for about 1 year. Now if you guys rewind back, there was something pretty crazy happening in the world about a year ago. But one of the things that was specifically going on was a lot of hate crimes against the African American community. So throughout all of that, I wanted to in some way try to show and spread some love. I walked around and I done a Facebook Live and I just handed out donuts just to show my appreciation towards them. The story actually ended up making it to the news and I got a chance to go on the news and talk about why I did what I did and the reasons behind it. In that broadcast, I mentioned very briefly that all of our clothes, me and my wife's clothes, had been stolen the week prior. Now the reason why that was a big deal is because I was saving up to buy a new camera. Now little did I know, my friends back home, my community, my town from Brinkley, Arkansas, they raised money for me and they took me to the local camera store in Arkansas, Bedford Camera and Video, and they bought me a Blackmagic 6K. So like I said, now you guys see, now you guys understand, this camera was very memorable for me. This was a huge deal. So all that being said, if this camera was such a big deal to me, if it had all these different aspects that meant so much, then why did I get rid of it and why did I switch to the Sony FX3? Alright, so the honest to God truth is I actually did not plan on switching away from a Blackmagic camera. I sold the Blackmagic 6K so that I could actually upgrade to the 6K Pro. However, in that time of saving and getting the additional funds to add on to the amount that I had sold the Blackmagic 6K for, I got a little interested. So at the time, I was borrowing a camera from my current employer to do some projects for them. However, I got the chance to shoot with that camera for some of these YouTube videos. So this video that you're seeing on the screen right now was a video that I got to shoot with, and the camera that I actually shot with was the A7S II. After shooting with this camera, I was like, whoa, like this, the colors look amazing. This was so easy to go out and set up. I was able to shoot for about an hour or more. I had no issues at all shooting with this camera. Now the Blackmagic 6K Pro was only gonna be about $2,300 or something like that. So I knew that that was the best camera with the best quality that I could afford for that price range. But after talking with some of my friends and more importantly, after talking with my wife, she asked me, so why are you switching cameras? Like, is this actually gonna be good for you? Are you gonna be trying to upgrade a little bit later? And I just kept thinking there are a lot of things that the Blackmagic 6K Pro is still missing out on, which would make me wanna upgrade next year if the Blackmagic 6K Pro, like Super Pro, came out. I would still probably want to upgrade because this camera doesn't have everything that I really want. So long story short, I saved double that amount of money and I bought the FX3 for $4,200. Let's talk about the specific things that I was talking about that the Blackmagic 6K Pro was missing out on, which would make me want to upgrade the next year if Blackmagic came out with a new camera. So as a YouTuber and as a content creator, there's many times, actually most times, where I need to flip my screen around and see exactly what I'm shooting. Now you guys already know where I'm going with this. The Blackmagic 6K did not offer something like that. Now, while you do have the flip up screen, that really doesn't let you see yourself fully as you're shooting. Now moving on to the next topic, we have battery life. So while the Blackmagic 6K Pro did get an increase in battery life, with switching to the MPF batteries, I think that's the name of it, you only really get about an hour of shoot time with that battery. Now obviously you can add on a grip and that includes 2 more batteries, but I mean, for me personally, I didn't want to add the battery grip and increase the size of the camera to have better battery life. It just seems really not efficient in so many different ways. So now with that being said, with the FX3, as soon as I bought the camera, I was shooting in about 100-degree weather for about 5 hours straight on multiple days, and I was shooting the entire time. And guys, my camera never even went dead. A lot of you may be saying, well, what file size were you shooting at? What quality were you shooting at? Guys, I was shooting at 4K, 120 frames per second at 10-bit 422 for 5 hours. Now, it was in burst modes, I guess you could say, because I really wasn't shooting continuous video like I am now, but I would shoot some B-roll clips, and then I would go to the next location, I would shoot some B-roll clips, and I was doing it for 5 hours straight. My camera never died, not once. I did that for a week straight, every day that week, and every single time my camera it still had battery life after I got done shooting. So to this day, that's been weeks ago, to this day, I still only have one battery for my FX3 just because I haven't seen the need to buy a new one yet. And so now we're down to the last topic, which is autofocus. Majority of the time I'm making a video, I'm shooting videos of myself. That being said, I would say that autofocus is almost a must-have whenever I'm doing these types of videos. Because of that reason of autofocus, that's what led me to look at Sony cameras in the first place. As of this moment, right now, on July 19th, 2021, there's not a better autofocus camera available in the world right now other than the Sony FX3 and the Sony a7S III. These cameras have the best autofocus in the world. Alright, so in comparison to the Blackmagic 6K, you get, I don't know what you call it. It's like you press the button one time and it focuses. So yes, it's autofocus, but I wouldn't, like, that feature never was helpful for me, really. Whew. Alright, so we got through that section. If you guys are still here, hit that like button below and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this content. Thank you guys for sticking through for this long, and now we're gonna dive into the rest of the video. So in the latter side of this video, I have two categories, and we're gonna dive into the first one. The first category is icing on the cake. What I mean by this is those first three things that I talked about, which was flip out screen, battery life, and autofocus. Those were all the things that I was mainly interested in whenever switching to another camera. Now obviously the FX3 compared to the Blackmagic 6K has a lot of other features that people are interested in, codecs and etc. But for me personally, those three are the things that I was interested in. So icing on the cake are things that I wasn't even considering that I got whenever I switched cameras. So the Blackmagic 6K is a little bit of a weird body of a camera, very difficult to balance on gimbals. It's just a big bulky camera. It's definitely not pocket sized at all in any way. Now for me personally, the quality that I'm able to get out of that camera, it far surpasses the size of that camera. So I really never was worried about the size of the camera because I was so happy with the quality. Switching to the FX3, which is such a smaller camera, guys, I gotta tell you, it's been so nice, especially when I've been doing those shoots in about 95 to 100-degree weather for 5 hours straight. Carrying around the Ronin RS2 with the FX3 has been, I mean, it's been so nice. Because the Blackmagic 6K, I would have had to attach some V-mount battery or something like that to keep that thing powered, which adds like a lot of more weight to my setup. So the last thing that I want to do for icing on the cake is being able to have 4K, 120, 422, 10-bit, all recorded to an SD card. Insane, so crazy. That, I mean, come on, like, what? That's insane. So that for me has been huge. Like, I love shooting 4K 120 frames per second at 422 10-bit. So moving on to our last category, we have something that I'm gonna call bitter cup. Have you guys ever had the feeling of whenever you drink like an iced latte and you sip it through a straw, and the first sip that you get is so good, but it's just because all the syrup is on the bottom, but as you continue drinking it, it kind of gets bitter. So that's what I'm kind of describing this category as. So here are, like, I've already talked about all the things that were like really nice. It was the nice syrup on the bottom of the cup, but whenever I got done drinking the nice syrup, I was left with this bitter taste. So here's the bitter aftermath that I have with the FX3. So the first thing is that you have to pay more attention whenever you're shooting. What I mean specifically by that is you have to pay more attention to your ISO, you have to pay more attention to your white balance whenever you're shooting on an FX3 compared to the Blackmagic cameras. Now the reason for that is because I edit in DaVinci Resolve and I also shoot Blackmagic RAW. So with Blackmagic RAW, I knew and I was very comfortable for the most part that I could just point the Blackmagic 6K at something and just press record. And if it wasn't looking the best, then I don't care, because guess what, guys? I can change all of whatever I need to change in post later and really not lose any quality at all. So that's one thing that I miss. I have to be a little bit more active whenever I'm shooting, making sure that my white balance is correct and that my exposure is also good whenever I'm shooting with the FX3 compared to the Blackmagic Cinema camera lineup. Now next, this is one that I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, duh, but I did not expect the lenses for Sony to be so expensive. Like I said, I told you guys that I paid $4,200 for this camera. That's all I got for that price. I got $4,200 and I just got a camera body, no lens. Now, obviously you do get the little adapter on the top, which is nice, but I had to buy a lens, and so I actually couldn't afford a lens, so all I did was I went on Facebook Marketplace and I bought a Sony lens for about $100. Very cheap lens. It's actually what I'm shooting on now, but still, I'm able to still get incredible quality out of this camera for now, as I'm willing to save up and get better lenses. Alright guys, so we have 2 things left, so let's go ahead and knock them out. The next thing is storage file sizes with the cards that you're available to use with the FX3. So for the most part, whenever you're shooting with the FX3, other than specific codecs, you can shoot everything on regular SD cards. But for I think like 422, 120 frames per second, 10-bit, you have to use a specific type of card. So for me, I've been using the Sony Tough card. And guys, that card costs $90. Just for 64 gigabytes. That's crazy. I mean, that's a lot of money for not a lot of return as far as file size goes. So for you guys who maybe don't know how significant that is, on the opposite side, you could pay about the same amount and get 1 terabyte of storage with a T drive or something like that. Maybe just add on like 10 or 12 bucks. And then you have a 1 terabyte drive, which you can record to with the Blackmagic 6K in every format you want to. Down to our last thing. Here we go, guys. So the last thing that we have that is a bitter taste is that the camera is not as big as the Blackmagic 6K. So you may be saying to yourself, that's super weird. What do you mean? You just talked about how the camera is like, it's a benefit that it's a smaller camera now. But the thing is, you know, if I'm being honest with you guys, whenever I show up to a shoot and I have the Ronin RS2, I have the monitor, I have the Blackmagic 6K, I have the focus motor, I have it fully rigged out. Guys, people just take me more seriously. They take me more professional just because my camera setup is bigger. Or at least inside I feel that way. So now every time I show up to the shoot with the FX3 and the Ronin RS2, I mean, people just, they don't really see it as professional in appearance as the other camera was, even though this camera can do quite a bit more than the other one can. Guys, we got through the whole list. We got through everything. So thank you guys for sticking through. If you have stuck through for this long, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for sticking through and watching this video. If it brought you any value at all, you know what to do. Hit that like button, share it with a friend, and with that being said, until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.